For an insider's view, we're joined from New York by Senator John Barrasso, Republican of Wyoming. He's vice chairman of the Republican Conference. He's also an orthopedic surgeon, one of 3 physicians in the Senate, along with Rand Paul and Tom Coburn. And as such, he voted against the president's health reform legislation. Senator Barrasso, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Koki. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me.
So, as a doctor, you said that this was not legislation that you could approve of. Give us a brief reason why.
Well, I practiced medicine for 25 years in Wyoming, taking care of lots of seniors, taking care of families across the country and the state. And I will tell you, what patients want is that the care they need from a doctor that they want at a cost they can afford. And when the president made his original speeches about the health care law, I said, I agree with you, Mr. President. But then when I read through the 2,700-page bill that was finally presented to us, I said, this doesn't do what the president promised. The health care law takes $500 billion from our seniors on Medicare, not to save or strengthen or secure Medicare for the long term. Instead, it uses that Medicare money to start a whole new government program for someone else. And I don't think that's the right way to go, Koki.
Senator, we seem to be in stalemate in Congress on so many big issues. And before you came with us today, we had a couple of pollsters, one Democrat and one Republican, who both seemed to agree that somehow we need to get back to a point where both sides learn to compromise as they once did many years ago in the Senate and the House. How do we get back to that, or do you think it's desirable?
Well, I think it's desirable when we have 14 million Americans out of work, 9.1% unemployment in this country, where we need to get the country working again. And yet when the Republicans do work together with the Democrats on things like the free trade agreements, the 3 of those that recently passed, or the federal aviation bill, the transportation bill, there are a number of areas we've worked together. The president actually has canceled the Rose Garden signing ceremonies because it steps on his message of saying the Republicans won't work with him. It seems to me that is his campaign plan, to run against Congress as not doing things in spite of the efforts of Republicans to work together. We waited 1,000 days for the 3 free trade agreements to finally get sent from the president's desk to Capitol Hill. We passed them quickly, both the Republicans and Democrats working together in a bipartisan way, and yet he canceled the Rose Garden signing ceremony because apparently he didn't want to highlight the fact that we were working together.
Senator, let me pick up on the taxes business. I asked the question in the lead-in, do polls really matter? As you know, a vast majority of Americans, every time they're asked, believe that wealthy Americans should pay somewhat more in taxes, and yet the Republican position, as you know better than anyone, is that that's not acceptable. Why not pay attention to the polls?
Well, I think if you ask the people of America, or any people, should we tax you or should we tax someone else, overwhelmingly people are going to say tax the other guy. But in a time with the unemployment that we have here, when we take a look at the people that have income of over $1 million a year, 4 out of 5 of them are business owners. They are the job creators of this country. And if we want to get people back to work, it just seems in economic times like these, raising taxes on anyone is not a good idea. And there is bipartisan support for that position. The president has said that the Republicans had voted against his so-called jobs bill. Well, what he forgot to mention is that a number of Democrats have also voted against his proposals. There is bipartisan opposition to what the president is proposing.
Senator, we only have a few more seconds here, but we're focusing here on the over 50 voters and wondering how you hear their voices. Are you seeing this group in the population particularly concerned going into this election?
I listen to those folks and people in Wyoming. I'm involved with the Wyoming Health Fairs. I was the medical director of that program. Go to those fairs on weekends in Wyoming. Many seniors are there. I will stand there in the middle of a high school gymnasium for an hour or 2 and just listen to everyone who comes up to visit. They have lots of concerns. Lots of it has to do with health care and the health care law. And their concern is, am I going to be able to get a doctor under the new health care law of President Obama. Because when they go to their doctors, the doctors are talking about the fact that with the cuts in Medicare, because of the Obama health care law, it's going to be harder for seniors to get doctors. And doctors will continue to take care of patients that they have. But what the worry is that if the doctor retires or the patient moves to another location, finding a new doctor who will accept Medicare is going to become more and more challenging as the president tries to balance the budget by cutting Medicare for our seniors to start a new government program for people who are not seniors.
Senator John Barrasso, Dr. Barrasso, Republican of Wyoming, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Koki.